Well, good morning. Here's a point to remember on pitching your hammock over a tent platform. It has its conveniences, but if you're going to get a deluge like we had last night, you're going to get a lot of splashback off the tent platform. So my underquilt is definitely pretty damp. Now the hammock gear traits are down to make it hydrophobic. I think that's the term. So it's not like down of the old days, and I don't think I was any colder than I would be otherwise. And it's cold. It's about 42. And as I pointed out in videos before, this is my 40-degree quilts. I probably should have brought my 20-degree quilts. And I was borderline while wearing double layers of fleece in there. You know, I'm a cold sleeper. But still, it's the outer fabric on the underquilt is quite damp. Anyway, we're now looking forward to getting packed up here, but we're going to do it as quickly as we can and then start marching to warm up. So once we got out of bed, we packed up about as quickly as we could. It took us a little over an hour, but we skipped breakfast. There was no way I was going to sit around in these kind of conditions and eat a leisurely breakfast. I need to start walking to warm up, although I'm not as bad as I would expect to be in terms of numbness and coldness. So we are going to continue north on the trail through Sages Ravine and eventually come to Laurel Ridge campsite. Pretty sure the name is, and we'll take a look there. I'm afraid I didn't look up the mileage yet. I'm not sure I can quite handle the map. It's not raining. Temperature's about 45. I don't think it's going to clear up, but I don't think it's going to rain much either. So a lot like yesterday. Well, I don't think there's any chance of my getting across this with my feet dry. Well, by skirting along the edge there, it wasn't as bad as I thought it might be. Just a little wet. So, now that we've crossed the stream, although we've been in Massachusetts since sometime yesterday afternoon, we are now officially in the Massachusetts segment of the trail. This is the administrative boundary, and it is 1.3 miles on to Laurel Ridge campsite. So it's 9:15. And we have arrived at Laurel Ridge campsite. So once again, I'm going to go in and reconnoiter and do some filming for my series on shelters and campsites on the AT in Connecticut and now Massachusetts. See you in a bit. So it's about 10 minutes of 10, and we've completed our tour of Laurel Ridge campsite, and we're ready to continue our trek north. We're going to go over Race Mountain, where we'll probably see nothing, and it's hard to tell exactly when you're at the summit of Race Mountain. And then we'll find a side trail that's the Glenbrook Falls Trail. That is 2.9 miles from here. So there are brief periods of time when the sky is lighter than it's been lately. But I'm not going to hold out hope that there's a clearing trend going on just yet. Well, it's almost exactly 11 o'clock, and I'm at what I'm going to call the summit of Race Mountain. Wherever the true summit is, it's not marked, and I don't know if this is the same spot that I said I was going to call the summit last fall or not. So that was more of a slog getting up here than I thought it was going to be. I don't know if the not so great weather is making it more difficult than I thought it would be, or if maybe it's just a nastier piece of trail than I remember. You know, every once in a while you can tell where the sun is, and that's the best you can do. So it's still pretty misty and foggy out here, and if you get out into the wind, it's pretty cold. I should have checked. Let's see. Hold on a sec. So my thermometer says it's 48. So it has warmed up some, but my wife said the forecast was for 60. The trend is going to have to accelerate if it's going to reach that. Here's hoping. All right, well, we're going to continue on down the north side of Race to the Race Brook Falls Trail. Okay, we arrived here at the junction with the Race Brook Falls trail at about 10 of 2, and it's now 25 after 2. We've been down the 2/10 of a mile to the campsite to have a look around and do some video shooting. And there's people camped down there. 2 tents set up, one on a platform, one in the group area. I guess they don't like hiking in crappy weather. Yeah, I'm not liking it all that much myself. Somewhere I think there's some mileage that pertains to us. We'll take a look. Yes, indeed. Hemlock and Glenbrook campsite shelters are 1.9 miles north of here, and that's our destination for today. Glenbrook area specifically, I'm pretty sure. So off we go again. We have to go over Everett. So we arrived here at the summit of Mount Everett at about 25 after 1. Right. And the weather still hasn't changed. It's warmed up a little. It's about 55 now. Maybe we'll make it. So we'll rest here for a minute or two, and it's 7/10 of a mile down to the picnic area, Gilder Pond picnic area, and then another 4/10 on to Hemlocks and another 10th further to Glenbrook shelter. So we're almost there, and my arm is obviously tired. So this is the Gilder Pond picnic area, which if you watched my AT Taconic Loop hike video, you've seen before. Doesn't look like it's changed much. It's not raining now. Not far from it, but not actually raining. So the AT North goes that way. It's only 4/10 to Hemlock Shelter and another 10th to the other one. So I'm back at Glenbrook, that's the name. Glenbrook Shelter and Camping Area. And actually, this is the same general vicinity that I put up a hammock last fall for the Taconic AT Loop hike, and I was looking around to try to find the right set of trees to set up. And first I thought it might be that tree and that tree, but they're only 4 paces apart. And then I thought it might be this tree, a little on the small side, and that tree. Yeah, but they're over 6 paces apart. And then I said, oh no, it's that tree and that tree, which is one of the 2 trees from my first pair. And they were 5 paces apart, so that's the combination I'm going to use. But then looking up, I see that that tree is dead. All right, so we're going to keep looking. There's a lot of trees here. Okay, so not very far away, we have that tree and that tree. And that tree's alive, and it's a good, 8 inches or so. So should be big enough. And they're just about 5 paces. So, home. Oh, and unless I didn't tell you the time before, it's just about 2:30. So it's about 20 after 4 now, and here's Hammock Camp. Over here, we have some water filtering, and it's just about done. So I need to cap that off. So under the tarp here, well, we've got some things drying that probably won't dry. In better weather conditions, they do tend to get mostly dry. Our gear hammock is full of useful things, and pretty much the backpack doesn't have much in it anymore at the moment. We have the quilts deployed. I was in there reading a little while ago. The storage compartment in the hammock itself is chock full of more useful things. On the ground we have a piece of Tyvek, like last night. And it's proving useful. It's not really clean and it's not really dry, but it's a lot better than trying to work on the ground. And we have some water on our alcohol stove, warming for cocoa. So life is good here in camp. Well, it's about 10 minutes after 5, so it's time to start thinking about dinner. So we are going to have beef stroganoff tonight, one of my favorites. And the reason I'm not saving it for tomorrow night is just in case we don't have dinner tomorrow night or on the trail. We have a long hike to go to get to the next shelter, whose name escapes me. Tom Leonard Shelter. And I don't know, I've never found a report of someone saying whether or not there's good places to hammock camp there. So if we find there's not, it's only about 2 miles on to the car. So we have an out. We'll have to see whether we take it or not. So, but I wouldn't want to miss out on having beef stroganoff, so we're going to have it tonight. And once again, this is the Babblefish 5 meal. Thank you again, Mr. Babblefish 5. So ingredients are ground beef, onion, garlic, mushroom, peas, egg noodles, and sour cream powder. So we're going to start by popping that into the pot and putting water on it. So I thought I'd give a little explanation of why I'm doing things the way I'm doing them while cooking this meal. So what I've got is my pot down on the ground. Well, actually, the stove is down on the ground, and then there's a pot stand, and the pot is on top of that. And that's not as stable as it might be. Now, I have the 2Q ZQ tree stand and I could use that, but to use that I'd have to be wearing my shoes, because I'd have to put it on a tree somewhere out there, and I can't go around with my socks on. They'd get all wet and dirty, and can't have that. But my shoes are soaking wet because I was walking through water all day. After all the rain we had last night, and we had quite a bit, the trails were just little brooks to a large extent. And it's reasonably cool. It's about 50, and I get cold, easily, especially feet and hands. So to use it out there on a tree, my feet would end up getting freezing cold. So I didn't want to do that, and I knew it was going to be rainy. So I brought the tree stand anyway, thinking I could use it as a kind of stable base, rather than just putting the pot directly on the stove directly on the ground, which might not be level. I'd get a much more stable base if I used the tree stand on the ground. But I'm not doing that, and the reason why is it occurred to me that it would act as a giant heat sink. This is a problem with alcohol stoves. They don't work well if they're on a surface that conducts heat away from the base of the stove, and that's an aluminum tree stand, and aluminum is an excellent conductor of heat. So I can't follow that plan either. So we're going with the on the ground thing, since the ground itself won't conduct heat away from the stove anywhere near as much, and well, it's a plan that didn't work out. So we'll have to get a piece of carbon felt or something and add it to the kit to act as a thermal insulator for this situation. Hope that wasn't too long an explanation. So that took about 10 minutes to come to a boil. And now we're going to let it sit in a koozie for 20 minutes. So our 20 minutes have passed. And here's our meal. Oop. I'm trying to be very careful here, because I don't want to get food on my top quilt. But I want to stay nice and toasty in my top quilt. Alright, so unfortunately I can't both show you this and eat it, so I'm going to eat it. So you may be wondering how I clean up after this meal. Or any meal. Basically, I use a technique I learned from a fellow named Shug. SiQg. That's obviously kind of a nickname. And he's famous in the hammock camping and backpacking world, but you may not be familiar with that world, especially if you are a friend or relative of mine. So the technique is basically, after you've eaten all you can eat in the pot, you put in some clean water, and then you swirl it all around, and you get your finger in there, and scrape it all into the water, and it all dissolves and makes a kind of a slurry, and then you drink that. And some people really turn up their noses at that, but it's really just clean water and bits of the food you just ate, so I don't see what the problem is. But anyway, that's the technique. It's very leave no trace. Having cleaned our cook pot, we can go on and have dessert, which is a little chocolate square, very tasty. And then we need to brush our teeth, and then pack up everything food related and put it in our earth sack and take it over to the bear box. So to do that, I have to take off my nice warm toasty socks and put my feet directly into my cold and wet sneakers, but when I come back, I'll get to put my toasty warm socks back on. It's a chore, but it's necessary. Well, I guess that's about it for today. It's about 6:30 now. Ursac is safely in the bear box, and I'm all snuggled in for a couple hours of Kindle reading. It wasn't a very eventful day for hiking, and it was pretty short, really, what with all my side trips for my other video project for shelters and campgrounds. Tomorrow, however, we have a long day, but I'll talk about that more tomorrow. I will show you a map of what we've done today. And but other than that, I think that's that'll do it for today. See you tomorrow. So we began our day at Sages Ravine campsite, and leaving there, we hiked through Sages Ravine, which was running pretty high due to all the rain, and we passed Laurel Ridge campsites, where we went in and had a look, and crossed Bear Brook, and then climbed Race Mountain, had a view of the fog, went down the other side of Race Mountain, the north side, and eventually came to Racebrook Falls Trail, and we went down that 0.2 of a mile to visit the campsite there, and then climbed Mount Everett, another view of nothing, descended Mount Everett to the Gilder Pond area, and then Hemlock Shelter, and finally Glen Brook Shelter, where we are now.